When Mehak Saini said, all communal dispute will end when uniform civil code will become a brand. To know how, I welcome you in today's webinar. So hello, this is your host Himanshi Kaushik, and I heartily and sincerely welcome you all in today's webinar on Uniform Civil Code, a road towards gender justice. And I hope that you all are doing fine, safe, happy, and healthy at wherever you're taking this webinar from. So before we move on and learn a lot more about the civil code and how it can actually help us to maintain the justice and all the gender equality, we have our expert here with us. So I shall introduce you to our expert. We have Ms. Mandeep Kaur, Assistant Professor and Alumni Coordinator, School of Law, Lovely Professional University here with us. She is a magnetic personality with over 14 years of experience, of which about 13 years in teaching and about 2 years in paralegal industry. She is herself a gold medalist in LLB, and she has published many articles in various papers of repute and has participated in different national and international conferences and seminars. And she has been representing herself as a chief guest at various organizations. So ma'am, it is a pleasure for us to be here to be able to listen you in the webinar. And before I request you to proceed with the session today, I want all the participants to know that now you can post your questions in Q&A box or chat box, or at the end of the session, you can write your questions and raise your hand so that we can allow you to talk to our expert here. And with this, I request Mandeep ma'am to kindly please take over the screen, and looking forward for an amazing session, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much, Himanshi Kaushik. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so let's start with today's topic. So as we all know, that today's topic is Uniform Civil Code, a road towards gender justice. So let's start with that topic. So first, I want to share with you all that today's topic of discussion doesn't mean to offend or to defame any religion. And the aim of this webinar is to raise awareness only. So as now let's start with the topic, that is Uniform Civil Code. Uniform Civil Code means what? Uniform Civil Code means equal law for everyone. So as according to India, yes, as according to Indian law, we have constitution. As we know that constitution, it is our grand norm. And in the constitution, we have fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and directive principles, and there are many more provisions also. So the main object and the main root, which is given in the preamble also, or in the constitution, in the fundamental rights, or in the other provisions, that is equality. So gender equality, it is the main objective of the Constitution of India. And according to this main objective, what we want, what is the main objective or the aim? The aim is equal rights for women with men. So the gender equality is considered as a basic human right unless women are allowed to live with dignity in the society. The Constitution of India, it has various provisions, as I told you earlier, that there are part 3rd as well as part 4. So first, I want to tell you about the part 3rd. In part 3rd, there are fundamental rights. And we all are, it's, mandatory provisions for everyone that we have to follow, we have to obey fundamental rights. We cannot infringe anyone's fundamental rights, because if there is any type of infringement, then the aggrieved party is having this right that he or she can move a writ petition or a PIL before the High Court or even before the Supreme Court directly. And in part 4, so in part 4, there are few directive principles of the state policies, which are, you can say, directions given to the state governments. So part 4, it provides for directive principles of the state policy, and these directives are fundamental in governance of the country, and it should be duty of the state to apply these principles in making law. And women empowerment. So today's topic is Uniform Civil Code for everyone. So women empowerment in core area like social status, gender bias, health, security, empowerment are of urgent necessity. And so to fulfill this objective, there is Article 44. And Article 44, it expects from the state to secure a uniform civil code for all the citizens of India. But in India, there is no uniform civil code. In our nation, in India, we have on the other side, we have uniform criminal code. For example, if let's suppose if one person is from any religion, if he is Hindu or Jain or Parsi or Christian or from any other religion, the main thing is if the person is human and he is committing any offense, then accordingly he'll get equal punishment according to IPC and by following the procedure given in Criminal Procedure Code. So in our nation, we have Uniform Criminal Code. And in uniform criminal codes, we have substantive as well as procedural law. And in the substantive law, we have Indian Penal Code. In the Indian Penal Code, we know that in Indian Penal Code, there are definitions of the crimes and punishments. And on the other side, for the procedure, we have Criminal Procedure Code. But in India, there is no uniform civil code. Civil code, like in the civil matters, for example, for the civil matters, every person, according to their religion, they'll follow their personal rules, their personal obligation. The criminal law, it is equally applicable to all citizens, irrespective of their religion, affiliations. But on the other side, however, in the case of civil law, particularly in the matter of personal law, there is no uniformity. So you can say here there is a discrimination. If we have uniform criminal law, why not we are not having uniform civil code? So that's why we are discussing today this topic, uniform civil code. So uniform civil code, it resonates with one country, one rule. We want in uniform civil code, there is demand of one law for civil matters, for personal matters. So this uniform civil code, it resonates with one country, one rule to be applied to all the religious communities. The term uniform civil code explicitly mentioned in part 4 and Article 44 of the Constitution. Now let's discuss Article 44 as it is in the directive principle that we already have discussed the same in our previous slides. So Article 44, it says that the state shall endeavor to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. So in our constitution, there is a provision given in Article 44 that there is, provision that there should be a uniform civil code in the territory of India. And who is having this duty? The state is having this duty. So in criminal matters, we know, okay, what are the criminal matters? Criminal matters like we know murder, rape, dacoity, theft, etc. All are coming in the category of criminal. So for that, we have IPC and CRPC and other criminal laws. And for personal laws, for the personal matters like marriage, divorce, guardianship, succession, right? So the law is relating to marriage, divorce, maintenance, guardianship, succession, etc. These are governing according to the personal laws. For example, if the persons are from Hindu community, then they'll follow Hindu personal laws. And if someone is from Muslim community, then they will follow, for the marriage, for divorce, maintenance, they will follow their personal rules. And similarly with the Christian and with the other religions. So the law relating to marriage, divorce, or other personal matters governing Hindu, Muslim, Christian, etc., it's different and varies from one religion to other religions. And a uniform civil code, it will help the cause of national integration. If there would be implementation of the uniform civil code, then we can see the national integration, because when we will see the preamble of the constitution or the base of the constitution of our nation or human rights according to international laws. So for the integration, there is a need of uniform law. And it is a humble opinion that uniform, or you can say the common civil code, is possible only when the government they consider the gender justice as their ultimate goal. Only then it could be possible. And as you know, we know that Hindus, they have their different personal laws. Muslims, they have their different personal laws. So let's discuss few name of the acts revealing according to the religion. So I have mentioned here few name of the acts. For example, there are different laws. Like for Hindus, we have Hindu Marriage Act, and in the Hindu Marriage Act, there are provisions for conditions, ceremonies, for divorce, and further we have Hindu Succession Act for the partition, for the succession, and further there are, you know, Hindu Minority Guardianship Act, Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act for the guardianship activities or for the adoption and for the maintenance. So we have different laws. And in Muslims having Shariat Act 1937, the Dissolution of Muslim Marriage Act 1939, Muslim Women Protection of Rights of Divorce Act 1986, etc., which are based on the tenets of Holy Quran. One, the personal matters of the Muslims. And similarly, when we'll discuss the Christians' law, so similarly, the Indian Christians, they are governed by Indian Christian Marriage Act 1989, Indian Divorce Act 1969, Cochin Christian Succession Act 1921, etc. And Parsis, they governed by different sets of laws. So thus, it is clear that there is no uniformity in the personal laws as they confer unequal rights depending on the religion and the gender. So there is a debate on this topic. It's actually a controversial topic. So now let's discuss historical perspective. The debate, this topic is not a new topic. It's a historical, you can say it's a debatable topic, controversial topic. Now, according to this, now let's discuss first the pre-independence colonial era time period. So during the time of Britishers, as we know that during the time of Britishers, they always used this policy that was divide and rule policy. And for criminal matters, they had introduced uniform criminal law. That's why they had implemented Indian Penal Code in the year 1860, right? And after that, the CRPC. So during the time of colonial era in the year 1840, so during the time of the Lex Loci report of October 1840, it stressed the importance and necessity of uniformity in the codification of Indian law relating to crime, relating to evidence, contract. And it's also recommended that personal laws of Hindus and Muslims, it should be kept outside such codification. Why so? What was the reason? Because they were in the favor of divide and rule. So they don't want to implement uniform civil code. So after that, the Queen Proclamation, Queen 1859 Proclamation, it promised absolute non-interference in the religious matter. So while criminal laws were codified and became common for the whole country, personal laws continue to be governed by the separate courts for the different communities. So while criminal laws were codified and become common for the whole country, personal laws continue to be governed by the separate courts for different communities. So here you can see the discrimination. So after this, during the time of 1947 to 1985, so it's a time after independence. So post-colonial era, so during the drafting of the constitution, so prominent leader, we know that Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, they pushed for uniform civil code. But however, they included the UCC in the directive principles of the state policy in the Article 44, because there were opposition from the religious fundamentalists and a lack of awareness among the masses during that time. But after this implementation, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he had done many reforms in Hindu laws. He drafted Hindu Code Bill. So the bill was drafted by B.R. Ambedkar to reform Hindu law, which legalized divorce, opposed polygamy, gave rights of inheritance to daughter. So here I have mentioned few name of the acts codified by the efforts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, like Hindu Marriage Act, Adoption and Maintenance Act, Minority and Guardianship Act, Special Marriage Act, Hindu Succession Act. But the Indian Constitution, in its part 4th, Article 44, direct the state to provide a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. And it is only a directive principle of state policy. Therefore, it cannot be enforced in a court of law. It's a prerogative of the state to introduce uniform civil code. Then the Constitution, now what are the reasons why this uniform civil code has not been implemented? Why so? Because the Constituent Assembly debates, it clearly shows that there was a widespread opposition to the incorporation of Article 44 and Article 35 in the draft Constitution, particularly from the Muslim members of Assembly, Naziruddin Ahmad, Muhammad Ismail Sahib, Poker Sahib Bahadur, Hussain Sahib, etc., made a sketching attack on the idea of having uniform civil code in India on the grounds that the right to follow personal law, it is a part of the way of those people who are following such laws. And it is a part of their religion, part of their culture, that it would lead to considerable amount of misunderstanding, resentment amongst the various sections of the country, that in a country so diverse, it's not possible to have uniformity of civil law. So it was the main reason, because there are many persons, those are not in favor of this uniform civil code. They don't want to implement uniform civil code. Religion is the main reason. And however, one of the most illustrious member of assembly, that is K.M. Munshi, he strongly felt that if personal law of inheritance, succession, etc. is considered as a part of religion, the equality of women can never be achieved. So if we want to achieve in reality the equality, so we have to implement, we have to think for uniform civil code. So in Article 44, as we know that the state, it's a duty of the state to implement uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. And in Article 37 of the Constitution itself makes it clear that directive principle shall not be enforceable by court, because judiciary is having many powers. Courts can add or can amend provisions given in the law. But for directive principles, only the parliament having this authority, only the state having this authority to implement. So, nevertheless, they are fundamental in governance of the country. This indicates that although our constitution itself believes that a uniform civil code should be implemented in some manner, it does not make this implementation mandatory, because it's coming in directive principles, so it's not mandatory to implement this. And in Constitution, there are many provisions, and our Constitution, it is based on equality and on the secularism, on the concept of secularism. For example, according to Article 14, so these are few fundamental rights. So Article 14 is equality. From Article 14 to Article 18 in the Constitution, there are provisions for right to equality. So in Article 14 is what? It is equality. Equality before law, or the equal protection of laws within the territory of India. Means no person should be discriminated on the basis of race, caste, creed, sex, etc. And similarly, this discrimination is mentioned in Article 15. And according to Article 15, it's stated that no person should be discriminated on the ground of religion, race, caste, state, or place of birth. And so one side, we are discussing the concept of equality, that is given in the constitution. And second, on the second side, as we know that our state is secularism. So we are not following any particular religion. So Article 24, 25 is freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion subject to reasonable restrictions on the ground of public order, health and mortality. And according to Article 24, every person is having this freedom that according to his interest, according to his beliefs, everyone can profess, everyone can practice, can propagate, can have faith in any religion. There are few restrictions that if we are following one religion, it doesn't mean that now we'll defame some other one's religion. So Article 25, further clause 2, it provides for regulating secular activities associated with religious practices, social welfare, and reform. So we can do religious secular activities also. We can do religious practices also for the benefit, for the social welfare, and for the social reforms. Article 26, right to establish and administer religious institutions. So it's our fundamental right, that right to establish and administer religious institutions. So that's why we can see, now we have gurdwaras, temples also, mosques also. So many religious institutions are there. Article 27, it prohibits the state from levying a tax, proceeds of which are used for the benefit of a particular religion. No need to pay any tax. So charitable institutions are totally free. They need not to pay tax. And Article 28 deals with issue of religious instruction in educational institutions. So these are few fundamental rights, and here these fundamental rights and these are based on equality and on the concept of secularism. In the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, one word was added in the preamble. So preamble, the introductory portion of the Constitution, before the 42nd Amendment, there was no secularism. There was no provision of the secularism in the Constitution, in the preamble portion, but it was added after 42nd Constitutional Amendment. And in the S.R. Bhumai versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court held that secularism as it's a basic feature of the Constitution. So our Constitution, our country, they respect every religion and other religious ceremonies also. But in India, the main loophole, we can say that in India, we don't have uniform civil code. Our laws are based for equality, on the base of equality, and we have this provision that is the secularism. So we respect everyone's religion, though we don't have uniform civil code and we are following personal laws according to religion. But as we know that our nation is developing, but there are many other developed countries, those have implemented uniform civil code in their own state, in their own country, like USA, Canada, Australia, UK, Russia, etc. So these are the examples of that country, and they have adopted the Uniform Civil Code as a developing law for the betterment of their society. So all the persons, those are living in these countries, they'll follow one law, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their sex or caste. They are following one law. Why not we? So Uniform Civil Code is the only reason for these countries to achieve their higher goals. That's why they are getting higher goals. Now they are developed countries also, but still we are developing because we are just thinking for our religion, for our culture, for our personal interest. We are not thinking for country's benefit, for the country integration, for the country development. We are not thinking for the same. Now, in India, as Goa, it's part of our state. In India, there is only one state, that is Goa, where Indian state, there is a uniform civil code for everyone. So Goa is only one Indian state has having uniform civil code in the form of common family law. And the Portuguese civil code that remain in force even today, it was introduced in the 19th century. In the year 1870, it was introduced in the Goa, and it was not replaced after its liberation. Still, it's existing, and people, those are living in Goa, they are following this law, that is UCC. And here I have mentioned here a few features of Goa's uniform civil code. As we know that UCC in Goa, it is a progressive law that allow equal division of income property between husband and wife and between children, respective of gender. Even every birth, marriage, death have to be compulsory registered. For divorce, there are several provisions. But in India, as we are not having UCC, we having different personal laws. For according to the personal laws, there are different rules for registration of marriage, or there are different rules for divorce also, according to the religion. And Muslims who have their marriage registered in Goa cannot practice polygamy or divorce through triple talaq, because in Muslim personal laws, polygamy is allowed. Polygamy means one man can have 4 wives at a time. But the same provision is not given to a Muslim woman. But if a person who is from Muslim religion, if he is living in Goa, and in Goa, as we know that there is uniform civil code, so that person, he cannot practice polygamy or divorce through triple talaq. As such, now triple talaq is no more. Now it's, provisions now have been amended by the Supreme Court in Shaira Banu case and recently. So during the course of marriage, again, all the property, wealth owned, acquired by each spouse is commonly held by the couple. And each spouse, in case of divorce, is entitled to half of the property. And in case of death, the ownership of the property is half for the surviving member. The parents cannot disinherit their children entirely. At least half of their property has to be passed on to the children. This inherited property must be shared equally among the children. But as we know that coin has, every time a coin has 2 sides. So similarly, no doubt in Goa, there are there is uniform civil code. But again, there are few loopholes also. So however, the code has certain drawbacks and is not strictly a uniform code. For example, Hindu man, he can have, he's having right of bigamy. He can go for the second marriage during the time of his first, even if his first wife is alive, still he can go for a second marriage. So bigamy is permissible in Goa if customs and usages allowing. And on the other side, wife is having no such type of right. And further, if wife fails to deliver a child by the age of 25, or if she fails to deliver a male child by the age of 30 also, then that male person who is living in Goa, where UCC is implemented there, then he can go for a second marriage on this ground. So there are, now we already had discussed the concept of UCC, the concept of constitution, that in the constitution there is part 3rd and there is part 4th. And one part is discussing fundamental right, and the one is the directive principles, and Article 44 is explaining the concept that is uniform civil code, which is coming in the directive principles. Now let's discuss the personal laws. Why there is a need, now we'll discuss that why there is a need of uniform civil code. Now we'll discuss personal laws. So as we know that Muslims, they have their personal laws, Hindus, they have their own personal laws, Christians, Parsis, and other religions, they all following their personal laws for performing, for solemnization of marriage, for divorce, for adoption, for maintenance, for partition, for dissolution of the property, etc. So there is no denying that personal laws are oppressive towards women. So there are provisions given in Hindu law also, in Muslim law for female, in Christians, in Parsi for females. Despite amendments, law, but these laws are different according to the religion. Every female having different laws, and so there is no denying that personal laws are oppressive towards women. Despite amendments, laws have long battle of cases in almost all religions. This discussion, however, came to light after triple talaq judgment, and women activists soon started questioning all the discriminatory practices associated with the personal laws. Now, let's discuss Section 6 of Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act. It's a Hindu law. And according to Section 6, nowadays, even now we are living in a 21st century, nowadays, father is the primary natural guardian according to law. And this preference denies women the position of natural guardian altogether. Women will give birth to a child, but still she is not a primary guardian of a child. Not only does it reflect the notions of patriarchy, but also violates the fundamentals also. And Christian law, and in the Christian law, similarly, gender bias exists in the divorce law. How? Men can obtain a divorce based on adultery. However, women cannot have a divorce right just on the ground of adultery. It needs to be occupied with the act of bestiality, sodomy, desertion. If she will prove in the court, yes, my husband is living in adultery, plus she needs to add the discharge that is of bestiality, sodomy, or desertion. Means the husband is living separately without any reason from the last 2 years. It means desertion. And in the Parsi laws, in Parsi law, gender bias exists in multiple provisions. A Parsi woman, if she'll marry a non-Muslim man, she'll lose property rights on and right to practice her religion. But the same provision, the same law is not applicable on Parsi men marrying a non-Parsi woman. Why so? Is there equality? This is just a tip of iceberg, and these instances doesn't cover the whole spectrum of discrimination that the personal laws pose. Now let's remember that the personal law are reflection of beliefs, faith in one's community, and they are varied in nature. And in Hindus, though in Hindus, status of women is still better as compared to Muslim laws. In Hindu law nowadays, after the amendment 2005, now women is having right in the property, in the ancestral property. She's having nowadays right. She can claim property rights. But before 2005, this right was not applicable to a female. On the other side, in Section 5 of Hindu Marriage Act, there are many provisions. There are actually Section 5 of Hindu Marriage Act. It is conditions for a valid marriage. So in that also, equal rules are there for male and for female. Still, there is just one difference, that is of age. That for marriage, the age of girls must be of 18, and for boys, the age is 21. Other rules are yes, applicable equally. And after that, in Section 13, there are several provisions where men as well as women can claim divorce from her spouse. So in Hindu law, but still we have different laws where women are getting more rights, but still we are having few lacunas. Now let's discuss that. So till the codification of Hindu law before 1955, before 1954, there was no any particular law for female. So till the codification of Hindu law in 1955, 1956, the Hindu women didn't enjoy equal rights along with the Hindu man. And before 1955, polygamy was prevalent among the Hindus. Polygamy means 4 marriages. A Hindu woman could not hold any property as its absolute honor, except in the case of Sridhar. And she had only limited estate, which was passed on the heirs of the last full male owner called reversionary on her death. And in the matter of adoption, a Hindu woman had no right to adopt a child on her own. She could not be natural guardian of her guardian during the lifetime of her husband. And these are few examples, illustrations in nature and not exhaustive. Even though the Hindu law nowadays, it has been codified, but still we are having few discriminatory provisions that is prevailing even nowadays. For example, Hindu women is not a co-partner nowadays, but in few states, she can be a co-partner. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, she can be co-partner, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. And consequently, she is not entitled to claim share in the co-partner. She has no right to partition of the dwelling house, even though she is the legal heir. Thus, it's obvious that codification of personal laws of Hindus has not succeeded completely in eradicating the gender equality. But nowadays, females after 2005, as I told you earlier, that now she can claim, she is having now property right. Now she can claim this property right in the ancestral property. So now let's discuss Muslim personal laws. In the Muslim personal laws, in the status of women, I'll say it's very poor, because in Muslim, uh, mostly all the, according to Muslim personal laws, so all the rights, 99% rights of divorce are in the hands of a husband only. There is only one provision, that is of Khulla or Mubarak, where wife can take divorce. For even for that, she has to pay something to her husband. And similarly, in Muslims, there is a provision of polygamy. Polygamy means, as told you earlier, that a man can have 4 wives at a time. Even in Muslims, Shia Muslim, especially because in Muslim there are 2 main sects, Sunni and Shia. In Shia, Muslim male, he can go for a mutta marriage. Mutta marriage means temporary marriage for a sexual pleasure only. So he can contact mutta marriage for an agreed period of time, and that marriage can be for 1 week, for 1 month, for few days, for 1 year. It depends according to his discretion. And in Muslims, there is no any specific age for solemnization of marriage, because there is a provision in the Muslim personal laws when the husband, when the boy or girl, when they attain the age of puberty, then it means we consider that now that person is eligible or entitled for marriage. So age of puberty can be attained at, in the age of 10 also, in the age of 12 also, in the age of 14 or 15 also, depending according to the person to person. So age of marriage for women and for male or for men is not mentioned in Muslim personal law. There is only a concept of puberty, age of puberty. And in the matter of divorce, the position of Muslim women is inferior, insecure, and as compared to the other females. And the method of divorcing the wife by the husband by pronouncing triple talaq is highly discriminatory. Now, this provision has been abolished by the Supreme Court in the year 2018. So in the matter of succession, a Muslim woman is discriminated against despite the assertion of certain Muslim scholars that Islam in this regard is more progressive and liberal. The legal position is that when 2 scholars or residuary of opposite sex but of same degree inherit the property of the deceased, the Muslim male gets twice the share of the female, means he'll get the double share. But female, she'll get the half share. So if brother and sister inherit the property as successor, the brother gets 2 shares, and whereas the sister, she'll get only 1 share. So here we can see the discrimination. In the matter of maintainer also, divorced Muslim wife is not required to be maintained beyond the iddat period. So it is duty of the husband that he'll maintain his wife only during the time of iddat period, not after that. So it's a discrimination, because in other religions, in Hindus, in other religions, it's a right of a female that she can claim maintenance from her husband. But it's not in Muslim personal laws. For that, we have now Muslim Women Amendment Act 1986, where she can claim maintenance, but that maintenance, she can be claimed only for this iddat period. Now let's discuss few legislative perspectives. So accordingly, as we are discussing UCC, the first case is Shah Banu. Shah Banu case of Supreme Court in the year 1985. So I'll tell you a brief facts of this case. In this case, there was an old lady, 73-year-old lady, whose name was Shah Banu. She was divorced by her husband, and while pronouncing this divorce, her husband used these three words, that is talaq, 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 in one go, that is called triple talaq. And according to Muslim personal law, we'll consider that now that lady is a divorced woman. And according to Muslim personal law, there is no provision of maintenance after that period. So this Shah Banu, the old lady, she filed a case under Section 125 CRPC before the Supreme Court. Section 125 CRPC is relating to maintenance, where wife, children, and parents can claim maintenance. And in Section 125, any women belonging to any religion, she is having this right that for maintenance, she can go for court under Section 125 CRPC. The same Shah Banu filed a petition before the Supreme Court for maintenance. And in the Supreme Court decided this case in the favor of Shah Banu and ordered her husband to pay maintenance amount to his wife. Now, according to Muslim personal laws, maintenance was to be paid only till the period of iddat, and period of iddat is for 3 lunar months. Roughly, you can say 90 days, where after the divorce, the female has to live separately from her husband for a particular time period. And in Section 25, as I told you earlier, that this here, a wife or the parents or children, they can ask for maintenance. But when court decided this case in the favor of Shah Banu, but this decision was highly criticized by the critics, by the opponents. So after the historic decision, nationwide discussions, meeting, agitations were held. And then finally, government under pressure, they passed Muslim women right to protection on Divorce Act in 1986, which made Section 124 of CRPC inapplicable to Muslim law. Again, this provision was highly criticized in the next case, which was Daniel Latifi case. In this case, this law, Muslim Women Right to Protection on Divorce Act 1986, this act was challenged, and one provision of this act was challenged before the Supreme Court. The facts was almost same in this case. The husband had given divorce to his wife by pronouncing triple talaq. Now, in this case, the main the main issue was the Muslim Women Act was challenged on the ground that it violated right to equality under Article 14 and 15, as well as right to life, Article 21. And the Supreme Court, while holding the law as constitutional, harmonized it, Section 125 CRPC, and held that amount received by wife during the iddat period should be large enough to maintain her during iddat, as well as provide for her future also. Thus, under the law of land, a divorced Muslim woman is entitled to provision of maintenance for a lifetime until she is remarried. And after that, there was one more landmark case. Name of the case is Sarla Mudgal versus Union of Case, AIR 1995, Supreme Court 1531. So in this case, the question was arised for conversion. In this case, the question was, if husband convert his religion only for the sake of second marriage, then what would be the status of that second marriage? Then in this case, the court held that if someone, as we know that we have a right of religion and it's our fundamental right, so we can profess, we can propagate, we can have faith in any religion, we can even convert any religion according to our faith, according to our interest. But if objective behind the conversion is not real, if person is converting his religion only for the sake of second marriage, then according to the Supreme Court, such type of conversion is void. And the status of second marriage would be void. And the person, that husband, would be held liable under section 494 of Indian Penal Code, and 494 is bigamy. Bigamy means second marriage. And the same question, again, it was raised in the case of Lily Thomas versus Union of India in the year 2000, Supreme Court 1650. The same question was raised in this case, that if what is the validity of second marriage contracted by Hindu husband after his conversion to Islam. Then the Supreme Court clarified that the court had not issued any direction for the codification of the common civil code. Judges constituting the different benches had only expressed their view in the fact circumstances under these cases. It appears that apex court in India, which showed great activism initially with regard to uniform civil code, has taken a backward step with this clarification. So to maintain equality, because in one religion 4 marriages are allowed, and the other religions only 1 marriage is allowed, monogamy is allowed, why not in all religion provisions are same? Then recently in 2017 Supreme Court judgment in Shaira Bano versus Union of India. So as we know that in Muslim personal laws, almost all the rights of divorce are in the hands of husband only. And there was a provision of triple talaq, means in one go, if husband is in anger or in any position, if he feels think that yes, I'll now pronounce triple talaq to my wife, then he can, this was the provision that he can go for that. He can say talaq, talaq, talaq. It means we'll consider now that wife is now a divorced wife. Why so? So to change this law, the 5-judge bench of Supreme Court gave its decision in the favor of Shaira Bano and other, and court declared that the practice of triple talaq, it is totally unconstitutional. By the 3-2 ratio, majority directed the legislature to take measure against it in order to stop the abuse against women. And now, if any husband is using triple talaq, it's a punishable offense according to law. Next, this is a case of property matters. So in this case, a priest from Kerala, John Vallamattam, he challenged the constitutional validity of Section 118 of Indian Succession Act. And according to John Vallamattam, he said that he challenged Section 118 of the Act and said that it's a discriminatory against the Christian, as it imposes unreasonable restriction on their donation of property for religious or charitable purposes by will. Because if I am the owner of the property, and according to John Vallamattam, if I am owner of the property, then it should be my right to decide whether I want to donate my property to XYZ NGO or not. So the bench in this case, the bench struck down the section as unconstitutional. So there are many arguments in the favor of UCC that why we need uniform civil code. I'll say if there would be implementation of uniform civil code, then we'll get integrity, and it will help in reducing vote bank politics. So personal law are a loophole, and by allowing personal laws, we have constituted an alternate judicial system that still operates on thousand-of-year-old value. A uniform civil code would change that, and more rights to women. A uniform civil code will also help in improving the condition of women in India and sign of modern progressive nation. If we want progressive nation, then there is a need for UCC, and it will only then it will promote real secularism like UK, like USA, like Russia. But there are many reasons why this dream is not becoming a reality. The task of actually devising a set of rules that will govern our communities are very formidable, tedious one, considering the vast range in interests, sentiments be accounted for, and misinformation about the UCC. The content of UCC has not been spelled out, leading minority. But what people believe, yes, it's against to our religion, to our culture, It should not be implemented. Some sections in minority, they are claiming that, it's a way of imposing majority view on them. But change in laws in favor of women, like Hindu Inheritance Act, has neither brought about any change in the percentage of the property held by women nor in their status. So the lack of political will due to complexity and sensitivity of the issue. So there are few suggestions in the end that I want to quote for the implementing the Uniform Civil Code. So first, if we want a progressive or if we want a developed nation, so a progressive broad-minded outlook is required. It should be encouraged among the people to understand the spirit of UCC. And it would be possible only through education, only through propaganda, only through awareness, sensitization program must be taken up. And the Uniform Civil Code should be drafted keeping in mind the best interest of all the religions. So there is a need for the formation of a committee of the eminent jurists, and they should be constituted to maintain uniformity, and care must be taken not to hurt the sentiments of any particular community. And in last, the matter being sensitive, yes, that we know that it's a sensitive issue, and it's always better if the initiatives come from the religious groups concerned. Only then we can achieve goal of our nation and objective of our law, that is equality in a real sense. Thank you. Yes, any query?
Thank you, ma'am. Before I move on, just a minute. Okay. And before I move on to the questionnaire round, I would like to extend my thanks for coming in, for giving in your time, and for presenting this insightful presentation. It has really been an experience to know about all these cases and to know about what is currently going on in the country, and how we can actually, I mean, you have given us a problem and a solution at the same time. So thank you so much, ma'am. And we have certain few questions from our attendees, from our registrants. So with your permission, can I take them up? Okay. Ma'am, so this first question came from Viraha Sharma, and it says, how does Uniform Civil Code intersects or collide with other laws and policies at different levels? Ma'am, you're on mute, ma'am. You're on mute.
Yes, now am I audible? Yes, ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yeah, please, now please repeat the question.
Okay. So, ma'am, this question came from Viraha Sharma, and it says, how does Uniform Civil Code intersects or collide with other laws and policies at different levels?
Okay, so actually, according to the question, I would like to say that this is the point that I want to share with you, that Uniform Civil Code, it's not colliding with any other personal laws. Every religious personal laws, they are having different laws. They are having different rules for marriage, for divorce, for property, division of the property, etc. But if we'll implement Uniform Civil Code in our country, then there would be one law for every person, irrespective that person is from Hindu community, from Muslim community, or from any other community, like if he is from Christianity or from Parsi. So that's why I'm telling you that there is, if we'll implement this Uniform Civil Code, there is no any collision between this any personal, religion.
Yeah,
So there
definitely,
is a need of this. Actually, there is a need of Uniform Civil Code. Only then we can achieve our target.
Definitely, ma'am, and I agree. Thank you so much for answering the question, ma'am. Ma'am, we have another question. And it came from Radha Sharma, and it says, how policymakers peacefully can make it happen?
Yes, this is a question now, how policymaker can implement this uniform civil code. Policymaker by using, they can take suggestions by the other religious leaders. They can ask from the religious leaders that yes, this is the law, this is the rule that we want to implement in our nation. That what is your suggestion? By taking suggestion from the different religious members, only then we can form a uniform law, okay, and can implement by pushing only the religious जो भी gurus हैं, religious gurus. Yes.
Definitely, ma'am. And ma'am, with this, we have our last question, and it is
Yes.
from an anonymous attendee. And it says, what are those lessons we can learn from the countries who has adopted this uniform civil code, and how basically our ministers or our prime minister, let's say all the policymakers that you had described in the last question, can enroute the same thing in our country?
Okay, I'll say, okay, no doubt, as even in this presentation also, I had quoted that there are many developed nations, for example, US, UK, Russia, and other states, those have implemented UCC in their nation. And this is all not, I'll not say only the developed nation, even in our country also, in Goa. Okay, Goa is state of our, country. And in Goa, they have implemented UCC, and we can see the difference in other states and in Goa. In Goa, whether a person is from Muslim community, from Hindu community, from Christian, or from Parsi, or from any other community, if they are following equal rules, okay, then why not the other states of the same nation are following? Okay, if our nation one part is following UCC, then why not the other states of the nation? Why this is a discrimination, I will say. So further, if we want to see the other nation or want to take examples from the other nation, then yes, we can see the difference where US currency rate is going on and where UK or the Russian government is going on. And still we are just thinking, yes, this is our religion, this is our tradition, we are just thinking for this only. We are not thinking for development of the nation. We are not thinking for the state. We are just thinking for our self motives. So we should follow, I'll say we should follow other nations, even we should follow Goa. That is part of our nation.
Right,
Yes.
right. And I completely agree. If we have an example in our own country, so why not, take an example from the same? So and with this, we are done with the questions, and I would like to extend my thanks for coming in here and for giving in the knowledge and the experience that you've had. And I think all the participants also must have enjoyed the session, learning all these cases that has happened. And what we can actually take from the session is we need to be a united nation, not a diverted nation, basically. And we have an example in our own country, so why not just learn from the same instead of learning from other countries. So thank you so much, ma'am. And with this, I will be taking your permission to show our students, our participants, about the site, as in how they can take admission and what is going to be the admission process. So can I take that up? Okay. So for all the queries that you've had regarding admission process as to how you can take admission and what all things will be required for you, so this is the one short resolution for you, and that is our site lpu.in. So this is our site that is called lpu.in. You simply put this site in your browser, and this will be the interface that will be coming in front of you. Now these are all the highlights of the university that might have happened, that are presently happening, or that might happen in the near future. So I would just ask you to kindly explore the site, and I hope and I promise also you won't regret that. Now, before I move on to the admission queries, I would want you to know that we have different webinars that are lined up. And so how you can basically, so how you can go and search them is you simply click on this admission here. And once you click on the admissions, you see at the left-hand side corner, LPU's EduFair webinars page is there. And once you click on that, this will be the page that will be opening. And you can see there are different webinars that are already enlisted here. You can register it. They're all free, and you can gain as much as knowledge you want. Okay, now coming back to the admission queries that we've had. So simply I clicked on the admissions here. And once I clicked on the admissions, I can see different programs that are very beautifully segregated and adjusted. You can see that after 12th, after graduation, after post-graduation, after 10th, etc., etc. So these are all the programs that you might want to take part in. Now, I'm just assuming that you're a student who has done your 12th grade and wants to take an undergrad program. So for that, you just simply need to go to after 12th undergraduate program and go to the regular courses. And once you click on these regular courses, you will be seeing all the disciplines that are currently provided by the LPU. You can see, you name any discipline and we have it here: engineering, management, law, physiotherapy, architecture, planning, etc., etc. So since we're talking a lot about law today, why not take an example of the same? So I'm just clicking on the law here. And once I click on the law, we can see all the courses / programs that are offered under this particular discipline. So you can see here BA-LLB honors and BB-LLB honors. So these are the programs that are offered at undergraduate level for the law stream. Now I will be just clicking on any of the course that, you basically click on any of the course that you want. And once you click on the course, you will be finding these options that actually would give you all the information about a course that you would want to. Now you can see program details would definitely give you the eligibility criteria, whether you're eligible for a particular course or not. So here you can see this is already highlighted, and eligibility, you can see in here that you need to have at least 60% aggregate marks in your 10+2. With English should have been your subject, and along with that you need to at least qualify LPU NEST, CUET or CLAT exam. So you just can explore other eligibilities also and the relaxations that LPU has to provide to you. Now, going forward to the highlight part. So highlight part actually gives you all the researches, patents, workshops, what all students are achieving in the particular course, and the rankings that is there in context with the course. So you can explore the highlight option as well. Now coming to the interesting part is the curriculum. So basically students, you will be given your curriculum beforehand. Even before you take admission, you know that you will be taught these much topics in this much year and this term. So I think that would help you to make a disciplined decision as whether you want to proceed with the course or not, as you know that you will be learning these things. So kindly explore this curriculum as well. And moving forward to the fee structure. So once I click on the fee in here, you can see 1,20,000 per semester would be our fee. But again, this is not the general fee that our students pay. Why? Because they get a lot of scholarships, and we have all these bases of the scholarship here. So you can explore the scholarships as well. So along with these scholarships, we have other scholarships based on your CLAT test and other special scholarships. For example, if you have been a part of an entrepreneur startup or an innovation project, or if you have been a topper of an education board, you will be getting the scholarship. And not only this, we have some financial aids as well. So LPU does provide you financial aid. So kindly check if you are eligible for a particular scholarship, and if you are, kindly just apply for the same. Now is the important date, and this is very, very interesting and important to note, students, that last date is 25th June. It's already 23 now, just 2 days from now. So I urge and request you to kindly start applying for the course, start applying for the test. So how you can apply is simply click on this apply now option. And once you click on this apply now option, there are some bare minimum requirements that will be asked, and after that you'll be given your dashboard, and from that dashboard you can actually apply for the course or the test that you want to. So I hope that I've given you all the detail in brief as to how you can take admission and what our process is going to be, for you to take admission in any of the course that you want. Now, if I could not, address anything in the webinar, you can either write in the chat box or Q&A box, or you can simply schedule a call from us. Okay, or you can simply WhatsApp us or have a live video counseling session as well. So I hope that you now know that how you can approach us and how you can call and how you can take admissions. And with this, I will be asking permission from our expert here, Mandeep ma'am, to wrap this webinar up if you do not want to add anything to the webinar. Okay, so thank you so much, ma'am, for coming in. for joining in and for giving in your own experience. And this session was very, I mean, I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I hope that all the attendees will be also enjoying it thoroughly. And before I wrap this session, I want you all to know that this session will be uploaded on YouTube as well. So if you have missed any part of this session, this will be uploaded on the YouTube, and you can explore this on our site, that is lpu.in. So with this, I take your leave. So until next webinar, stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you so much for joining in.